But then we'll begin with this story where the president has suspended the 0.5% cybersecurity levy. Now, this was revealed by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, during the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday. This follows several complaints from Nigerians who are still struggling with the current economic realities in the country. Recall that the Central Bank of Nigeria ordered banks to begin the process of deducting cybersecurity levy in a circular to different categories of banks, mobile money operators, and payment service providers.
The position of government is that that policy has been suspended. The cybersecurity levy has been put on hold. It is being reviewed by government. For now, it is on hold.
All right. Like we have heard, the federal government has said, for now, it is the cybersecurity levy of 0.5% is on hold for now. And the president said something that the reason why he's pushing for this to be suspended is such that the level of hardship wouldn't be as much. That is not quoting him verbatim, but trying to summarize what he said. There's so much, this matter raised a lot of dust when it was being implemented. I recall someone sent me money and I saw, I was like, what's happening here?
So the 0.5 was...
I saw the deduction and I was like, what's happening here? What's going on? There was no explanation, but from the financial institution with regards to what that deduction was for, seemingly, because I was wondering, this amount, is this how it's been deducted now? Is this what we're getting now? And all of that. And then I saw that when you make some transfers, for instance, if you transfer 10,000 naira, the monies had increased. The amount you pay for transfer had increased. I was wondering, okay. I thought this was being suspended and all because there was a statement that came initially that this was going to be suspended till September, until the president now came again to, amplify the matter of this levy being suspended as it is. A lot of persons were not happy because they didn't have enough clarity with regards to the essence for this levy, even though the Office of the National Security Advisor has said that it is designed to fund counterterrorism for the country, and it's just an effort to fund counterterrorism. I believe that a lot of strategic communication has to be done for people to understand, even though we hear that there are those items that will be, these levies will be on, not necessarily every form of transaction, electronic transaction, especially salaries and all, that is out of it. Is exempted, but a lot still needs to be done if we are still going to go back to this.
Well, Veronica, when the CBN sent this circular, I read it and I felt like, I first of all felt anger. Because I'm like, and it reminded me of what happened with Emefiele. The time when he said we can withdraw a certain amount of money from the bank or per day, whether from the counter or the ATM. Per day you can withdraw a certain amount of money and all of that. And how the furor that came up as a result of all of these situations, many Nigerians complained bitterly about this thing. I think for me, the presidency should not even think about it again.
They should just let it rest.
Let it rest. And I'm aware it's in the Cybersecurity Act. It should be expunged of 2015. It should be removed from there because it's.
So how does government fund these matters of counterterrorism? That will be the next question.
Involve the private sector. The government doesn't have to do everything. The banks have a way of fighting cybersecurity. They've been doing that for years, and they've not collected 1 naira from. I hope you get your refund though. They've not.
There's nothing like they haven't sent me refund though, because that's like 2 weeks ago.
So they have a way of fighting cybersecurity, and they should involve the private sector rather than government doing it, because trying to collect money from Nigerians, 0.5% is quite a lot when we look at it, especially if you're sending like 1 million or 2 million or 10 million. It's quite a lot. We might not understand it until you can look at your bank statement and you realize that in a month you spent quite a lot on cybersecurity, which means it's quite a lot. So this should not be talked about again. You should let the government just, I like the fact that the president has suspended it, but it should not be talked about for a very long time. We do not need such kinds of, many people are actually suffering under the hardship.
Perhaps they need to let us know what it had been before, where we were not paying these levies, what was on the ground when we're talking about counterterrorism efforts and all of it, what it was before, how government was able to handle it, and now why it is needing the citizens to be part of the effort to pay for it. So you know, these are the things that we need cleared. That's why I said there has to be strategic communication.
Yes,
when
I agree.
we talk about security, it is one of the primary purposes of any government.
Truly,
that is what they are there
But when you're
to do.
talking about cybersecurity
also involves everyone, right?
Yes.
But then explain to me. There has to be clarity. You are collecting this money from me. See, this is why the matters of trust between government and the people there is a deficit. Because we are not being strategic enough with our communication so that you can win the confidence of the people, you know, by, you know, their support when you are doing some of these things. It's important that you strategically communicate with them such that in a language they understand.
Even with the communication,
and then they see that at the end of the day, what you said you want to do with this money is we are getting the results.
Even with the communication, do you think Nigerians will agree to it?
Talk to them first.
Nigerians will not.
Nigerians are not
for me,
as terrible as we think.
No, definitely. But for me, I still stand on the fact that the government shouldn't do everything on its own. Involve the private sector in these kinds of situations, right? The private sector will be able to bring up policies, bring up whatever they need to do, their expertise and everything, to be able to effectively fight cybersecurity. Just as a government, put policies in place that will aid that, rather than have a cybersecurity act, put that kind of provision inside the act, and you expect everybody to pay for it. Because in the long run, we might not even see what is being done with the money. And you cannot ask questions.
Why can't you ask questions?
You know about the...
What's democracy about?
The Freedom of Information Bill. How many people have used it to get information effectively?
Now that,
how many?
Yes, that we know that there are some challenges with regards to that. But then you have constituencies, you have representatives, you have all of these people.
How many times have your own representative come to you to ask you
them questions?
How many times have your representative
have you made an effort and they refuse to answer you? You and I now. Have you?
Between you and I have.
So what happened?
I have. He has answered me quite all right.
Fine.
But how many times have you seen them have town hall meetings? We don't have to go and ask them one-on-one. Have town hall meetings. Meet with your constituency about these kinds of situations and get their feedback.
Recess, where do they go?
Do they go for constituency meetings? How many times do they go and have meetings with their constituents and get the feedback back to the government? How many times?
Okay.
They just say it there at the chambers and say, oh, we're going to meet our constituents to discuss this. But how many times do they actually go there to discuss these matters with their constituents? And the real constituents. Because they know that these people will say no to this cybersecurity levy. And once they say no, what they going to take back to the people? Many times they just go and say, oh, my constituents like it and all of that, continue with the whole thing. But many times we don't see these people come down to the grassroots to talk about these things.
But we see that people begin to use several platforms. Yes, they do not come back home necessarily to have this kinds of conversation, but people use their social media platforms to ask questions.
Do you see that?
Sometimes there are engagements.
Good.
Sometimes there are engagements. So perhaps if we can use our platforms to engage necessary stakeholders,
how many lawmakers handle their social media handles by themselves?
Not necessarily the lawmakers. We see other government officials.
Yes, how many government? Okay, generally, how many government officials handle his or social media?
Some of them are
themselves?
active, but Nigerians need to ask questions.
Definitely.
As it is,
if you go to some the Instagram or X handles of many of these people are asking questions.
Right.
But how many of them respond?
Right. So it's important now, or it's imperative that stakeholders begin to respond to people so that you can have strategic communication and we can build trust at the end of the day between the people